But the Bible said, God said in the creation, you shall rule over you. Not to be a boss, but to be a helpmate part of you. She's sweet and kind and tender. You should lead her around sweetly because she's part of you. You go to mistreating her, then you're mistreating yourself. And a man mentally right won't do that.
You're worrying about something. You're bothered, upset. And it's nervous for one thing. You're real nervous, aren't you? Kind of a mental nervousness, kind of causing you to have all kinds of funny feelings and so forth. Isn't that true? And that mainly works on you in the afternoon, long late evening when you get a little tired and run down. And that has caused the trouble.
You believe with all your heart? You do. Now you're a very nervous person. See, not in a nervous, shaking and jumping. But what you're nervous at, it's a mental nervousness. Because you are a deep thinker. You're always thinking. You're taking other people's trouble. Contemplation. You believe it as you come. Will you obey me as God's prophet? Do what I tell you to do? Now look, you've been nervous for some time. It's not it's a mental nervousness. You're trying to be deeply sincere, take other people's thoughts to yourself and things like that. In other words, you cross bridges before you get to it. In that it's created to you an ulcer condition in your stomach. You've got a stomach trouble, you can't eat right. The only thing, sir, you think deep, you cross bridges before you get to them, taking other things upon your heart, and you're always planning something that never happens. It's only mentally. Nervous, and mental nervousness. That is right. You've been that way for years. But Jesus Christ is sure to take it off of you.
So just polishing and joining church and reading a whole lot and knowing a lot of books and authors and so forth doesn't mean that you're converted. Because you have an intellectual mind that makes you have a mental conception that there is a God somewhere, still you're not a Christian yet. Until actually you become personal in contact with Christ that changes your heart and nature.
Now, there is two elements, just for a few moments on this subject. There's two elements that make up the human being. And one of them is your mind, and the other is your soul. And the mind is your mental thinking, your intellectual, and your soul is a part of God that's in you.
They've joined church. Some of them has come in because of some mental emotion. Others has come in because of an intellectual conception of the Word. They heard it and they believed it in their head. But never has it ever went into the heart to produce that real love.
And the biggest part of our faith is mental faith. Yeah. By hearing the Word, it brings us to a mental recognition of God. But if this coming from above, oh brother, if it ever strikes this, there is a godly spiritual faith. Amen. Then, what does that faith do? That faith recognizes only the Word. Amen. No matter what anything else says, it only recognizes the Word, because in the beginning was the Word, and the Word is with God, and the Word was God. Amen. And the Word is still God. Amen. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And when the Word itself is pouring into our faith, our mental faith becomes a spiritual revelation.
The mental attitude you take towards it will bring... Now, the mind won't do it. But if you give that attitude towards something, got life in it, then that life comes down and does it. Not your mental attitude. That only brings you in the presence of Him. That's what you do.